Hi, this is Daniel L. I'm back with the final leg of my journey, which started from Delft City, not far from Rotterdam, through Dunkirk, Dover, and the final destination being Ely in Cambridgeshire. This was the vehicle I drove. It is a Jeep Renegade made by Fiat Chrysler. It has a diesel engine with manual transmission and 6 gears besides reverse. After enduring the lorry queue at the Dunkirk ferry terminal for 3 hours, here I am after another 1 hour and a half of waiting at the terminal building area. On screen to the right, you can see one of the terminal workers instructing motorists to proceed and board. The ferry is that structure with lights on top behind that terminal building. I did my best, resting for the hour and a half I'd been waiting in the vehicle. After boarding, I would have another hour and a half to 1 hour and 40 minutes to rest. After that, upon hitting the shores of Dover, I would have 3 hours to reach home. Our turn would come in just a few seconds. It's our turn to move now. She's indicating my boarding pass should be on the dashboard. And away I go. Boarding time at last. I'm glad. As I've said earlier, that's the ferry with the 4 lights on top of its crown, that part. It's not just an open board whereby the vehicles just drive in and everything is just in the same spot. No, it has different levels, different floors, and different sections for the types of vehicles. Yawning, it's not over yet. To undertake this kind of journey, you have to make sure you rest before it. Otherwise, you're gonna be in trouble. By rest here, I mean good sleep and just lying down instead of sitting before the journey. Once again, the time on the front view camera is the UK time, which in this case is the GMT. The rear view camera displays the Central European time, which is an hour ahead of GMT. It was all quiet then. I'd lost interest in music or the radio. That must be the last waiting round. I don't mind. We're almost there. There you go. My time has come to board. That's the ferry. There's a bridge on the ferry. It looks like a purpose-built bridge leading to the ferry. The lorries and personal vehicles go separate ways, so I just have to follow that personal vehicle. Look inside how long it is. Look at the parking area. So long. This is where the cars are parked in a line. These parking lanes are usually filled up. That's from my past travel experience. That's in the belly of this vessel. It has probably 2 or 3 levels. We don't have to stay in the vehicles, we go upstairs. Listen to that man shouting. After that traffic incident, I'm sensitive to this kind of shouting. I find it disrespectful. But anyway, there's no other way. Let me just give him the benefit of the doubt. He must be tired, one of the few left after the strike. This is the rear view of the moment I was driving onto the ferry. You can see there that the time on screen is 1:41, which is the Central European time. Here was the moment the man was shouting. You just get the feeling that you are on the ground floor of the cellar of a tall building. I do not have pictures or a video of the English Channel crossing in this journey. What I do have is this snapshot from the last journey I undertook 2.5 years earlier in 2016. This is the map of the crossing. This is one of the restaurants I've shown you in the first video, while here is the deck section where people could chill out, especially in the summer when it's sunny. I've often seen smokers there. I do not know whether they have their own section or they just take over the whole area. This here is a lounge area. Look, empty seats. When traveling during the holiday or Christmas periods, you would hardly find a seat. And lastly, these are the headlamp adapters I'd shown you in the first video. In the ferry, this will be your opportunity to remove them, because once you reach UK soil, there won't be any time for that. Here we are in our vehicles where the parking spot is. The time on screen is 16 minutes past 4 a.m. This is the Central European time, or 16 minutes past 3 a.m. GMT time. It looks like there has been a little delay. We should have docked by now. Usually the crew announces when there's 15 minutes to arrive at the port that everyone should move over to their vehicles. That was also what they did on this journey. At this point, we could actually have docked and are just waiting to exit the vessel. My vehicle is in front of this Volkswagen Passat. Here we go. Exiting at Dover, the port of Dover. The time on the screen there is 22 minutes past 3 a.m. GMT time. Yes, Dover skies, what a blessing, have arrived. You see there the dock description with the writing Dover on it. At last, I'm on UK soil, right here. But still, home is hours away. After what I've been through, more driving is still needed. It's 3 a.m. That means by 6 a.m. I should be arriving home. When traveling, I've always avoided the rush hours, but here it looks like I'm heading towards one. Not good at all. I'll continue talking through this last leg of my journey. Here you see what looks like a major public road, but we are still on the port premises. From experience, I understand there are two ways coming in or out of this port. One is to the left and the other one is to the right. That's also east and west. So this time around I think I should be going left. Both roads lead to London anyway. Either way it works. The vehicle in front of me went straight instead of going left. I'll be showing you the front view camera of this section that I am on right now. This is the front view camera from the moment I was driving out and away from the ferry. Vehicles from the right have priority, or maybe not here. Haha. Here you have a clear view of everything on the ground, movements everywhere. Here are the lorries. We're rubbing shoulders again after our interesting, unforgettable ordeal in France and Belgium. We're still not out of this sport area. Notice to the right is what looks like a heap of soil on a hill. In the past I thought it was a mountain. It isn't. Customs of nothing to declare. This was the moment I was talking about in the rear view camera. The vehicle in front stopped as it should have been going left instead of straight. Here you see more public roads, including that viaduct, but we're still not clear of this port. Look, to the right there is another heap of soil or sand on a hill. It's not a mountain, maybe metaphorically, a mountain of soil or sand. Here, the port must be behind now. It's just a public road, I think. Yes, it is. Now the focus should be on the direction boards. I should be heading to London and from there to Cambridgeshire. The plan is to bypass London Centre using the Dartford crossing. The Dartford crossing is a long bridge across the River Thames on the eastern outskirts of the city. It bypasses the city and its center. You paid a toll to cross in advance or up to 24 hours after crossing. Just Google for that. I did pay the toll in advance to use the crossing, and this would enable me to avoid the London morning traffic. Will I make it through? Keep watching. I see vehicles heading to the port. They're gonna cross to France this morning. Best of luck to them.
After 400 yards, cross the roundabout, third exit.
From here, to be energized, I had to turn on some music again, but for copyright reasons, I won't be playing back this.
Cross the roundabout, third exit. take the exit.
With this kind of journey, the music should be on, otherwise you're gonna fall asleep. I did rest anyway for an hour and a half in the ferry, but I wouldn't say it's enough.
Keep right.
So I had to make sure I remain awake. You would notice in this video that it's a constant switch between darkness and floodlights. Some roads are so dark that you wouldn't see anything if not for the lane lights. That's the lights on the road surface. They are on the white lines. Here comes the relief again in the form of floodlights on the road. I'm just following the navigator, but I also look on the boards, the direction to London. That's where I should be going. How far away is London? It's about 1 hour 40 or 45 minutes from the port. The distance is 78 miles or 126 kilometers, and it could be longer than 1 hour 45 minutes with traffic. Of course, the city is not my destination, but it's on my way. It was drizzling, and from here you see more of that.
It's dark here. Dream is to get in town where the sun lights. It's relaxing. The cycle of light and darkness continues. I'm approaching an hour on the road, and the rain is getting harder.
I see many lorries parked by the roadside here. Everywhere you find them. The drivers must be asleep, waiting for daylight to break. And the struggle or life continues, depending on how you view it. Feel the downpour. Look on the screen. 4 a.m. has arrived. There are a few lane lights on dark parts of dual carriageways like this. Some people just turn on their full beams. That's irresponsible driving because they are most likely to blind the oncoming traffic. In such circumstance, it's reasonable to turn on the full beam when no traffic is coming from the opposite direction, here to the right, but then to revert to the dipped beam once traffic appears. That's exactly what the lorry driver just did, whisking past the right hand side. Here I was wondering about the exit to the Deptford crossing. One of the highlights of this leg of the journey was somewhere here. This road is a highway M2, also known as A2. The exit that you'd hear about shortly wasn't clear enough, so I ended up missing it, and that would mean going around this highway path, a distance of roughly a mile away. How crazy was that?
Exit ahead. After 400 yards, take the exit.
This must be the exit I missed.
What exit?
Take the exit.
This time it was after I'd gone around this part of the highway to attempt taking the exit once again. It could actually have been another one that the
Go
navigator meant.
around the roundabout.
Where is it?
Fourth exit.
It wasn't visible enough from afar, so I ended up missing it once again.
Don't know.
Here I had no choice but to go round again. Remember, I'd exited the ferry at 3:22 GMT time. The time on the screen is now 4:22. This means I'd been driving for exactly an hour until then. What is written on the lane? I see Dover, LON, must be London. Fourth exit means just going round the roundabout, then parallel to the road where I'd missed the exit.
Take the exit.
Which exit, man? No one.
Here I'd made a mistake. I shouldn't have been taking this road. I should have been going straight somewhere to my right. Once I was far away from that exit, I noticed several boards telling me that I was heading in the direction of Dover. It was then that common sense kicked in, and so I had to look for boards showing me the right way to London. Listen, this was the moment I got surprised.
No. Who's it taking me?
That was the moment I'd seen a board in the direction opposite London. It was such an unsettling thing, thinking I'd be losing time getting lost after all that had happened in the journey. I kept on going, confident I'd find an exit that would take me to London.
Ahead.
The navigator did recalculate the route, and with an eye on the direction boards, I found myself once again en route to London. Next, I had to keep an eye on the exit to the Dartford crossing. Here, 5 o'clock has arrived. I'm still on the road. How beautiful it is to see floods of lights again after the pitch black or total darkness I've been driving through. Cool. Here, the road left is the exit to the Dartford crossing. I did miss it. Just why, after all this trouble,
Crossing, damn it.
to get back to that exit would mean losing maybe another 15 minutes? I had to give up. That meant I had to go through London. That was bad news, because I would be driving into the early morning traffic in the city. That was the last thing I wanted after what I'd been through. the navigator doesn't recognize the exit to the Dartford crossing, I had to keep an eye on the direction boards. Unfortunately, I did miss it. This map shows the route I had planned to take from the M2 at the Dartford crossing and led to the M25, which is that curve northeast of London, before joining the M11 en route to Cambridge and Delhi. That route would have cut my journey by 7 miles. That's theoretically. The navigator, having noticed that I wasn't any longer on course of the shortest route, readjusted and shows that I'll be entering the A102 from this one here, the M2 or A2. The A102, as shown in this Google map, is where the Blackwall Tunnel is in East London. From this map, you could see what missing the Dartford crossing meant. It meant having to drive closer to the city centre. There are signs on this road indicating I'm approaching the Blackwall Tunnel. On screen, it's now 22 minutes past 5 a.m. If you could recall again, I left the ferry at 3:22, so it has been 2 hours of driving. Now, this is the Blackwall Tunnel in East London. At last, I'm out of this tunnel. This is then the A12 you see on that board.
Take the exit, then bear right.
It was all clear what I had to do. I'm not familiar with the A12 and where it ended, but I found myself on this highway, which must be the M11. As seen in the maps, this motorway is found north of London. Look at those vehicles. There were a few, or almost none, at the start of my journey. It's morning, that's why you see more vehicles now. 5 a.m. Almost 6 a.m. It's a Wednesday morning. not the weekend. And you see people are rushing to work. The right lane, that's the M11, heading to Cambridge and beyond. I'm on the right track. From there, it'll be easy for me. I won't even need the navigator. That's another board again, showing I'm traveling in the direction of Cambridge and Stansted Airport. There are lots of viaducts in this area. I must still be closer to London by then. Some minutes later, 6 a.m. had arrived. The sky is turning grey. 6:22 would mean I've been driving for 3 hours exactly. What a long journey. Instead of the usual 3 hours drive from Rotterdam to the ferry terminal in Dunkirk, it took me 12 hours to eventually arrive at the check-in gate. That was after 2 hours of waiting on the highway in France, from where motorists were sent back to Belgium. Then there was a re-entry to France using another route, after which I got lost. Following that was 3 hours waiting in a queue at the port, then another hour and a half waiting before the ferry could depart, and finally the 2 hours crossing of the channel. It has gone past 18 hours already on the way. I could have reached Eastern Germany with that amount of time. That is from the UK.
Exit ahead.
Yes, I'm about to exit this highway. This means home is close. So close. This is still the M11 approaching the A14 motorway. The exits here are clear, as seen on those boards. This one here is to the motorway A14, which would take me to Newmarket and Norwich. That board says it all. At this point, the music was still on, but I was already looking forward to resting, which would be in less than an hour. that highway through Newmarket, that's the A14. This is the busiest motorway in this part of the country. Luckily for me, it didn't live up to its reputation that morning. The explanation had to be that I was there before the morning traffic. 7, 8 and 9 o'clock. That's when it's really busy. The time on screen now is 6:22. Remember, I exited the ferry at 3:22. That means I've been driving for exactly 3 hours now. 3 hours on the road. I'm almost home, perhaps just half an hour to go. This must be Newmarket. Newmarket is part of Suffolk County, which borders Cambridgeshire County. From here, it's just a few minutes to go before I exit left from this highway. The traffic here is alright so far, even though the rush hour has already started in the area. Seeing the number of vehicles on the right lane, I would say there's more traffic where I'm going. This area the road is passing through is part of Fordham Village, which is in Cambridgeshire County. Newmarket Town Centre is somewhere in the direction behind me, perhaps 5 minutes away. Newmarket is not in Cambridgeshire, but Suffolk County.
After 300 yards, go left on the roundabout, first exit. Go left on the roundabout, first exit. After 800 yards, cross the roundabout, second exit.
This road here is still the 142. I'm familiar with it, but for some reason I just kept the navigator on.
Cross the roundabout, second exit.
there's a cyclist on the road. In areas where cycling is allowed, the road edges or sides are marked for that purpose. In the Netherlands, it's a different story. You would have a separate lane for bicycles and mopeds. That bicycle route or path would be safely away from the motorway, separated from it by a curb.
After 600 yards, turn right.
This area is all too familiar to me. Left from this roundabout, I'm driving onto the Ely Southern Bypass, which is a bridge completed and opened in November last year, 2018. It is meant to reduce traffic in this area caused by vehicles constantly waiting at a railway level crossing. That railway crossing close to the Ely railway station is somewhere to the right, straight from the roundabout at left. Yes, I'm finally in Ely town. The time on the screen is 6:47. I'd left the ferry at 3:22 a.m. That's about 3.5 hours since leaving that port. As seen on that green board, I'm approaching another roundabout. Somewhere to the right, where the vehicles are coming from, is the railway station I'd mentioned, and the town center is perhaps a mile away behind those lines of trees.
After 80 yards, turn left.
Ain't done anymore.
I'm not home yet though, which is less than 15 minutes away. From this roundabout, the road to the right also leads to the town center. Here, I've switched to the rear view camera, showing the moment I was on this road, beyond the bridge and the two roundabouts I had crossed. Once again, the time on the rear view camera is the Central European time, which is now 7:52 a.m., an hour ahead of GMT. This is a 60 miles per hour or 100 km per hour road. It looks faster, but it isn't really. We are back to the front view camera once again. Here I've entered the suburb of Ely town, where I currently temporarily reside. Ely is one of the oldest monastery towns, founded in about 637 AD. As with most towns in the UK, there are still buildings from the past, but here they don't seem to be as old as the Ely Cathedral, which dates back to the early 12th century.
After 300 yards, turn right.
I'm almost there. A minute later, I arrive at my destination. From leaving the ferry at 22 minutes past 3 a.m. to my arrival here at 7 a.m., that's 3 hours 45 minutes. It should have been shorter, 3 hours at most. Anyway, what matters is that I've arrived.
After 50 yards, turn right.
That won't be necessary anymore. I was supposed to have been walking that day, but in that condition, it was impossible. At last, the engine is switched off. It's time for me and the car to rest. Before I end this, the question is, will I ever undertake such a journey again? Possibly. The options are endless, from Scotland to Ireland, Germany, and beyond. That, however, might not happen in the short term. That's it from me. I hope you've learned something from this journey. Have a good day or a good evening, and goodbye.